Editor Pancake here. There's background noise everywhere in this video. Please don't mind it. There's static. My brother was playing Valorant. There was things happening. The house is being cleaned. Just pretend it isn't there and you'll be fine. The video goes everywhere all at once. You'll live, I promise. If you don't live, well, you wouldn't be able to sue me because you'd be dead.
Hey kid, you want to hear something about Portal?
Following the release of my most recent Portal series, Malfunction, I wanted to create a little bit of a commentary video, just sharing my thoughts on the whole thing, what I've improved on, what I still need to work on, ups, downs, highs, lows, things that aren't direct opposites but are still worth talking about, and such and so fortheth. I'm going to start at the beginning, go to the end, then backtrack my way through the series, and maybe even make the video interesting along the way. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to touch on for Malfunction is my design process, because a lot of Portal creators, and just creators in general, get stuck on stage 1 of the creation process, getting an idea. And I seem to have gotten a few of them. So, how do I get them? I don't. I do get them, but I just kind of scroll through Bmod's item UI. By the way, download Bmod if you're wanting to create Portal maps. It's really, really cool. And I just kind of light bulb. Like, that's how I got the idea for the whole series, basing it around world portals, which I know isn't a very original idea, but I tried to do some cool stuff with it, as I'll touch on up ahead. My design philosophy when creating Malfunction switched quite a lot, and it was about that midway point between parts 2 and 3 that it made the dramatic switch. The original part 1, it was called Moving Parts, of Malfunction, was bad. I'll just say it outright. It was bad. Its main gimmick was mover blocks, or mover panels. Basically, I used them for platforming. Don't do that in a puzzle game. But my plan was to bring in a mechanic that no one ever really thinks you should use as a major test element, and use as a major test element. My plan for part 2 was to use the angled panel, namely to block the laser. When the laser's blocked, you can infinite fall the conversion gel blob, shoot it up, bang. That's the gimmick. Eventually, it turned out that the gimmick was going to be world portals. And in part 3, I'm like, I want the player to go back through the chamber using world portals and use the test elements in new and unique ways. So, eventually I realized, part 1's bad. And, I went back and, patched the cheese in part 2, more on that later, and secondly, I completely scrapped the original part 1 and replaced it with asymmetry. But enough about my thoughts. I actually brought in a special guest for some of the video. How about he introduces himself instead of me rambling on?
Hey, I'm PieCreeper. I'm the owner of the Portal community server, and so I played a series called Malfunction named Pancake by Pancake.
Hey, that's me.
Yes, it is. And
So, what were your general thoughts about the series? Like, what was your impression of it?
it was interesting, especially the second chamber where I cheesed the heck out of it.
Yeah, there was a obscure bit of cheese where you could just do basic Portal gameplay and the chamber broke. There was a part where you infinite fall and then shoot up to the main gimmick of the chamber, and you could just bring the cube with you, ruining the entire thing. Because the whole challenge of that part of the chamber is, how do you get the cube up there? I ended up patching it with a green fizzler, and
Yeah, that works pretty well.
and rebuilding the entire first chamber because the original was frankly terrible. It's called Moving Parts. I think I might still have it up. And replacing it with Asymmetry, which introduces the mechanic of the green fizzler early on. I was really reluctant to add death to Malfunction, specifically because it can be frustrating for a lot of players, and I don't want people to click the skip test chamber button, which a lot of people still did, admittedly. So, what I ended up doing was I only used turrets once in the final series. I say the final series because Malfunction Part 0, Moving Parts, yeah, it comes up a lot, I know, did use turrets in a rather more lame way than the final version, which simply had you dispatch them with a funnel before they could shoot you. I had a really cool sequence where if you play your cards right, you can have them all fizzle themselves in the exit door. In your little victory parade leading up to the fake out. But aside from that, the only instance of death occurring is via some laser fields and some goo, which, if you take due diligence, you can easily avoid. But even then, in Part 3, you got a lot of goo deaths. I only ever had one playtester die to the goo in Part 4, and that was only because he came at it a little too fast. So, death as a penalty is not preferable to simply making you lose your portals and restart a segment. What would you say was your favorite and least favorite parts of the series?
My favorite? Let me look at them again.
Yeah, you can just click on the collection link if you want.
What?
Let's see. Switch it up. Pancake.
I'm still laggy.
I actually did like the second part quite a bit once you fixed the cheese.
Yeah, like, the thing with Twice Over was, I think I did the most unique gimmick out of all the parts in the series. And then I just kind of tried to run with it into the next parts. And a couple of them kind of fell flat. Like, in Part 4, one of the destinations of the world portal is completely optional. You can just skip it. And granted, that was by design, but I don't know why I made it part of the design. What would you say was your least favorite?
Let's see. Part 4 had a pretty, like, weird issue where you just hit the light bridge catcher.
Yeah, like
with the bridge, despite not even hitting it.
I did end up patching that, but it's still like I wanted to implement the light bridge catcher so badly because it's such an interesting mechanic. Because
Yeah,
you
but-
have to use your platform to hit an objective, thus limiting your movement. But the item itself is so buggy that you have to build the level around the bugs.
It's perfectly functional for like regular light bridges, but the moment there's angled light bridges, everything just messes up. I don't know
Yeah. As a B-mod connoisseur, do you know when the item was last updated?
I actually just took the item from the map from 2015.
Oh wait, you were the one that made it.
No. I didn't make it. I just I found it in a map that was made in 2015, and the description said that feel free to use it. So I just took it.
Man, that's kind of funny. That's kind of
Yeah.
silly goofy.
And the map I got it from, there was no angled light bridges involved. So I guess I guess the creator of it never
Yeah,
thought of
like,
the fact of it being angled.
hey, if Valve never considered it, you can't blame them.
Yeah.
I like angled light bridges are such a cool concept that I just wish they were implemented in some way in the base game and thus debugged. Like same with Part 3's angled funnel. Like at Part 3, I started introducing angled versions of established mechanics. But they're all just so buggy, aside from the gel in Part 5, that it was barely worth it building a puzzle around them. Like my least favorite solution that I built in the entire series was in Part 3, the start of it, where you have to wiggle around the glass in the angled funnel. But yeah. I had a few playtesters for Malfunction. Most of them came from the Portal Community Discord server. And they kept finding soft locks that I just didn't know about. A couple of them I caught in development, and not, like, probably the most gut-wrenching one was the one in Part 2, where if you fell down the hole through the fizzler, you came out behind some glass, and no matter how fast you flung, you just came up just short of the surface. I tried redesigning the world portals, tried modifying some angles, but nothing seemed to work. So I had sadly to take the lame way out and just put a switch in the pit. So that you could bail yourself out, and it revealed the only instance of a long vac tube ride in the entire series surviving today.
Yeah, I just remembered there was that part where you had to like mess with the catwalk
Oh yeah,
for the light catcher.
I freaking love catwalks. Like, I even implemented them in the OG Part 1 that I scrapped. Like, I just love catwalks. Like, going back through the chamber after completing it in, like, Part 3, like, that was such a cool feeling to just... It felt like putting puzzle pieces together. Even though I'm making the puzzle pieces.
They are pretty cool. I remember you tried to like make it go down, and you used to get invisible, the block remover, but then just add like an invisible barrier.
Yeah, like I was so hell bent on having the catwalk in the hub of Part 5 bend down that I just never considered the fact that it could bend up, but it made for such a grand spectacle when it went up as opposed to down that I just can't envision it having gone any other way now.
And the light bridge like barely goes under it to get lucky.
Yeah, like I was like threading the needle with that catcher placement. And fun fact, it was originally on the other side of the entry door, but I wanted it to be closer to the entrance to Section 4, so I just moved it.
Yep. It's a shame the block remover doesn't technically remove it, just makes it invisible.
Wait, is it literally just a no-draw block?
Yep.
Man, what genius could have come up with that idea?
A ring. I mean, it works pretty well if you don't need the player to be there.
Yeah, like, I think the invisible block in Part 5 only works because you're not bouncing in the middle. If the repulsion gel could have landed on the compressed smoke field, then it would have just completely ruined the illusion and made the chamber nearly unplayable.
That wouldn't be good.
Like, I would have had to redesign some serious chamber. But,
Yeah. The block remover was originally created for like the old aperture gel pipes, where they're like
Oh,
with the long pipes.
wait, was it so that, like, is it kind of like vac tubes where it has to be up against a wall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the original purpose for them. But then we realized that it could also work well with catwalks.
But
For
yeah,
only certain scenarios.
speaking of vac tubes, I wanted to implement them more, but like the only place they ended up making it in the final series was a soft lock escape route in part 2, and the shortest vac tube rides of your life in part 4.
Like you're just jumping in. You're on the second floor.
Yeah. Like I absolutely love vac tubes in concept, but they're just so buggy.
They work perfectly fine when they go up and down, but when you're horizontally, you always get
Yeah.
stuck in it.
Yeah, like in the aforementioned soft lock escape route, you have to like crouch in a specific way and like worm your way into it for it to actually take you.
Yeah. That's why I probably never use Vaxi for player, only for cubes. If I
Yeah,
use them.
like it can create some really cool spectacles.
They had to fit the vacuum into a one voxel, which is like barely enough space to enter.
Yeah. Like 2x2 vac tubes, I think would work really well for a lot of things.
Even just slightly bigger would have fixed the issue.
Yeah, but then it would have like messed with some puzzle designs.
Yeah.
Also, it would have been really frustrating to have to deal with 2x2 vac tubes that look like they're 1x1. Because they would just barely encroach upon the adjacent voxels. So I think 2x2 just flat would do it a lot better.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm getting ideas now. The idea juices are flowing. I want to use vac tubes more. Well, we'll see. We'll see. When I'm old and bald and hair don't grow no more, we'll see how many vac tubes I've used. I tried to add as many Easter eggs as I could to the series, but the Puzzle Maker budget bar would not allow me that luxury most of the time. The only major one I got away with, aside from the secret ending in Part 5, which I was thankfully liberated of the budget bar for, was an instance in Part 4, where if you jump down a hole where a cube button is, you can trap yourself. But I instantly foresaw this and implemented a little bit of dialogue where GLaDOS goes just, "Oops, you trapped yourself. I guess that's it then. Thanks for testing." That originally comes from Turret Blocker. And all her little spiel eventually ends with, "Here, I'll lower the glass. Go on, finish the test." And despite there being glass right in front of you, an angled panel opens up behind you with a world portal leading to the main part of the chamber. I initially wanted the glass to lower just like GLaDOS said, but the unforeseen consequence that I was not aware of is that the glass vertical door item just doesn't work with a trigger button below it. So I would have to either make it go sideways, which would make it so that if you just step towards the glass vertical door, the dialogue would play anyway, negating the point. Or I would have to place it on the outside, which would make it look really ugly. So I eventually went with the more comedic option of just implementing another angled panel.
One thing I like is the monitors that show you certain that show you certain rooms.
Yeah, that was something I planned to have in every chamber from the beginning. Like even as early as moving parts, I had the buttons that show you specific parts of the chamber, and by part
Yeah,
4, I was like kind of annoyed with the buttons because I could just have them automatically show off certain parts of the chamber.
Yeah, they alternate as a no button.
Yeah.
And also they might confuse the player that they do something useful during
yes.
chamber. Or just make it alternate and not have any
Well,
button.
if I attached an antline to the button, it would lead off into that section to the camera that's recording, not the monitor.
Alright, so you can use a logic trip for that. Well, it's logical.
I don't know why I allowed you in here.
because reasons.
Yeah, there were maybe not good reasons though, considering that pun.
Come on, that was good.
No, it wasn't. It was absolutely heinous.
I know.
You're literally like a mouse thing. I could step on you and you go squish. Anyway, yeah, by part 5, and even in part 3, because I didn't know where I'd put the button, I just made them alternate. I just removed the button altogether and just shut off parts of the chamber.
Yep.
Ended up being more convenient. From the very beginning, I always intended every camera in all the levels to be breakable. As soon as I rediscovered BMod and I'm like, what items should I use? I just looked at the camera and monitor and was like, yep. In the original moving parts, it was actually a lot like asymmetry in the fact that there were 2 buttons on either side, one with a 1 signage, one with a 2 signage, each pointing towards the specific segment and the button. The button, all it did was show you a little snippet of what was to come in that segment, but everyone was always like, "Oh darn! I bet that button does something. I gotta whoo doggy. I gotta leg it over there." But they didn't. They didn't have to hot leg it over there. There was nothing. There was just a segment. So in future parts, I revised it so that it was more obvious that it was just a camera button. And in parts 3 and 5, I just didn't have a camera button at all, and it just showed you segments of the level. But I did kind of like the fact that it showed you GLaDOS. So maybe in future parts, I'll keep GLaDOS. Maybe in some, I'll keep the chamber. But just know this. There will be monitors, and they will be breakable.
I noticed in 2 parts you use conversion gel, which I don't see often, so that's cool.
Yeah, like I've always wanted to do conversion gel stuff, but it's really hard to do right. Like in part 2, I used it for 1 puzzle and I had it like cordoned off, so you couldn't really do anything with it. But in part 5, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I want to do for part 2, and I'm gonna do it. So conversion gel freaking everywhere.
Yes. Conversion gel is it's a very cheesy test element.
Yeah, like it was really delicate work making a chamber that used conversion gel for the solutions but couldn't cheese any of them with it.
Yep, and the paint fizzler certainly helped.
Yeah, the paint fizzler, I kind of struggled to find it a double use until I got the idea of the bouncy cube in part 3.
Yeah, I completely forgot that actually removes gel because I haven't seen it been used for that in a while.
The repulsion gel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew
like,
it did that, I just haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I tried to use a great variety of stuff that people would enjoy seeing. Like I've been playing a lot of quick play. Like even in most recent, I've just been seeing, okay, yeah, that's a bridge. That's a funnel. Yeah, that's a laser, all right. But never bouncy cube. Like most like all three categories of quick play, you just never see repulsion gel.
Actually, I do see repulsion gel quite a bit.
I don't know
Maybe
what
it
chambers
sounds
you've been
lucky.
getting in quick play, but I've been getting the driest ones out there.
Dry.
Yeah, no bouncy stomach linings to be found. At the end of every single level in the Malfunction series, I didn't really want to put an elevator, because every test on the workshop ends in an elevator, unless it's a hammer map, but those are cool, and I'm not. So I took like a little bit of a middle ground, and I made a little corridor. I kind of like how it turned out, just light strip, fake exit door so it can transition into the next part, and there was, in one part, it was the first part, the segue into part 1 and 2, I had 1x1 ceiling debris. But, for the most part, the only thing that wouldn't make my map leak, is 1x1 tiles. I don't know what it is about the tiles, but they're just the only stable piece of debris in the entire BMod library. So, that's what I went with. And it eventually became a running joke by the end. Because, oh, if there aren't tiles, it's probably a fake out. Because in part 3, no tiles, the floor drops out from under you. Part 5, no tiles, the floor drops out from under you. You're just wary now. You look down every time you enter a corridor. It's kind of fun. What was your opinions on the finale?
The finale? Actually couldn't find out how to get that cube on below the compressed smoke field onto the button.
Like in the section 3?
Yeah.
It's supposed to just bounce up to you.
No, but there was like a button all the way down there.
Oh, basically you put the cube on the button above the smoke field, and it opens up angled panels, and you kind of use the repulsion gel by shooting up through the one on the top, and putting it in the hub, and coming back with the conversion gel from part 2, and using it to portal yourself down there.
Wait, so it's supposed to bounce on the button?
No. Like, you can clean it with the paint fizzler at the part 2 entrance.
Yeah.
And then you can put it on the button opening the angled panels. Like, I thought that was really clever using other parts like that for the solutions of some of them. Like, come to think of it, part 2 is the only one that you could solve all on its own. Huh.
I do notice that now.
Yeah.
To be honest, for the finale, I made of how they go while I was in the process of solving it. I was like near the end, and I forgot to continue it.
Hey, I made a walkthrough for a reason. No, wait, don't click off yet. I link it at the end. Stay.
But I did get the other 3 conditions for the exit door.
Yeah.
It was pretty. The parts I did so far was pretty good.
With the finale, it was always planned for there to be a surprise at the very start with like all the joke turrets, and then just you enter the exit door and then surprise. That's hey, it's like the name of the level, the second surprise. I really love like double meanings like that, like it referring back to the main campaign and the level itself. I was really split on how to end Malfunction. On one hand, I wanted this big, bombastic finale that celebrated everything that I had done in the past week and a half, if I'm being honest, of making the series. But on the other hand, I wanted to be true to the series and have it just end. Because it wasn't about this big bombastic action stuff. Like, I would have used more momentum if that were the case. The puzzles were more subtle. So I kind of cheated and did both. The ending that was more subtle was the quote-unquote true ending. It was the canon ending to my little story here, where GLaDOS just kind of drops you into an endless pit. And unlike an actual bottomless pit that just kills you in-game, it's just world portals looping the same 3 tiles with a couple turrets that shoot at you while the screen fades to black. I feel like there's something missing from this ending, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really like how sudden it is, and it just kind of leaves a taste in your mouth. But I just don't know how to put it. It just feels incomplete. On the other hand, we have the secret ending, in which I break a cardinal rule of all Portal 2 chest chamber building. Don't use the companion cube. It is overused and lame. The good news is I broke it in a good way. I made it completely optional and secret and just a little Easter egg. I made the second ending really obtuse on purpose. I wanted it to be a really obscure secret for those who really wanted to find it to enjoy. And the little text that pops up on screen when you get the second ending, it reads, "Congratulations, this story is happy end. Thank you." I really wanted to do that for the ending, but it didn't really work for the other ending because that was definitely not happy end. So I put it in the secret ending. Old Ghosts and Goblins never goes awry. But yeah, I think that is all I have to share with you today. Check out the series in the description. Like, subscribe.